Story at 6 surrounds an apparent detainment tactic used by federal agents on a man in Brooklyn Center.
What starts as a request for help appears to end with a man taken into custody. Fox 9's Rob Olson is live on this for us.
Don't go! Hey! Right now.
You just watched a video showing a stupid trap set by ICE agents to detain a man during what should have been an ordinary act of kindness. And as this footage spreads, ICE is facing a firestorm, criticized, mocked, and condemned, igniting massive backlash and forcing the country to confront an unsettling question about trust, power, and how far enforcement is truly willing to go. Because what if doing the right thing, simply stepping outside your home to help someone in distress, is now enough to get you ambushed by federal agents?
About a minute later, two women get out and raise the hood, and shortly after get Jesus to come out to take a look, and all of it was a ruse.
Like, they lied to my dad that they needed help with his car. I mean, they figured out that he was a mechanic. You know, my dad's a generous guy. He's willing to help anybody.
In the video, agents allegedly posed as a woman with car trouble, parked in a residential area. A father steps out of his home to help. No running, no resistance, just instinct. Seconds later, the situation allegedly flips, agents emerge, and the man is detained, turning an ordinary moment into something far more disturbing.
Yeah, and the video from a neighbor's camera here. In fact, the family said their own camera strangely stopped working during the time that this was going down. But again, getting video from the neighbor, a tactic that was actually decried in an ACLU press conference this morning. This actual detention mentioned is a tricky tactic used by ICE. The family now looking for an immigration lawyer, but know this, for a couple of reasons, might be a long shot to get their father back.
What sent this video into overdrive was the allegation of deception. People can argue about laws, borders, and policy all day, but the moment enforcement appears to rely on trickery, the ground shifts. The idea that someone could be drawn out of their own home under false pretenses hits a nerve, because it feels less like policing and more like a setup. That perception alone was enough to light the fuse, even among viewers who usually back tough enforcement.
His son Miguel didn't want his face shown, nervous even though he was born in the U.S. Within minutes, you see three SUVs pull in and take Jesus into custody. Miguel says on top of the alarming way his dad was tricked comes the stress of what to do now.
Then came the deeper fear, the damage to everyday trust. Once that clip spread, the conversation stopped being about one man and started becoming about everyone. Helping a neighbor, assisting a stranger, responding to someone who looks stuck or scared. Those basic human instincts suddenly feel risky when people believe kindness itself can be used as leverage. That kind of fear doesn't stay online. It creeps into real neighborhoods and changes how people behave.
Main reason he came here to the United States and was willing to come back to give us a better life, and that's what he's done. He sent me and my sister to college. So, I mean, he's done that other than working. I mean, there's no other reason to deport my dad. He's a hard-working individual.
He's not a dangerous criminal.
No, he's done none of that, so I don't see no reason to deport him.
What made it explode emotionally was who the man appeared to be. A father. Calm. Cooperative. Someone doing what people are taught from childhood is the right thing to do. And because this happened in Minnesota, already tense from recent enforcement activity, the outrage didn't build slowly. It detonated instantly. The clip didn't just create anger, it unlocked anger that was already waiting.
To find somebody who can help, somebody to which they can plead their case to get him back home.
The Minnesota clip felt like another piece in a much larger picture, where aggressive tactics, blurred lines, and unchecked authority keep resurfacing in different places, under different circumstances, with the same result. Fear first, answers later.
The nation tonight calling for action. These are just some of the demonstrations against ICE. These are just over the past 24 hours or so.
Yeah, from Oregon to Georgia, demonstrators want ICE out of their states.
That's why the reaction wasn't cautious or patient. Viewers connected this moment to past encounters, past stories, past footage they'd already seen and never forgotten. Once people believe a system behaves this way more than once, they stop treating incidents as accidents. They start treating them as signals. And when a signal looks this clear, the backlash doesn't wait for permission, it accelerates.
In a single week, a demonstration against ICE tactics and immigrant detentions in Pinellas County grew from about 24 to more than 200 people.
This gives me hope. It makes me feel wonderful.
To understand why this blew up so fast, you have to look at what was already happening in Minnesota. Federal authorities had rolled out a massive enforcement push involving multiple agencies operating at the same time, flooding communities with unfamiliar faces, unmarked vehicles, and sudden arrests. Thousands of people were taken into custody in a short span, and the sheer scale of it created an atmosphere where fear spread faster than information. In that environment, every new clip carried extra weight. People weren't seeing enforcement from a distance anymore. They were seeing it on their streets, near schools, in neighborhoods that had never experienced anything like this before. So when this video surfaced, it didn't feel like an outlier. It felt like confirmation. The public wasn't asking, "Is this real?" They were asking, "How often is this happening when no one is filming?" And once that question takes hold, even a single clip can ignite a firestorm.
Across the country, ICE Out for Good rallies come after federal agents shot 2 people in Portland Thursday and killed 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis on Wednesday.
Then the outrage deepened as other moments surfaced and stacked on top of each other. Reports of fatal encounters during enforcement shattered any remaining sense of restraint. During recent enforcement actions, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, both U.S. citizens, were killed in encounters involving federal agents, and those deaths sent shockwaves through Minnesota. Once citizens start dying during operations that were supposed to be administrative, something snaps. Protests followed, trust evaporated, and the belief spread that enforcement had crossed into dangerous territory.
Criminal apprehension saying the FBI is not giving them access to evidence or information regarding the shooting of Alex Preddy last month.
You may remember January 24th when Preddy was shot and killed by federal agents. Well, federal authorities allegedly blocked state investigators from accessing that scene.
Then came the images that ripped straight through the public conscience. Photos and videos of children caught in the middle of raids began circulating again, including the image of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos being taken into custody. A child, a backpack, fear on his face. That single moment became a symbol. It wasn't policy anymore. It was emotional, personal, and impossible to explain away. Once those images spread, outrage stopped being political and became instinctive.
I have been at school for the past couple months actually, with friends who are Mexican, Latino, Asian, and seeing the looks on their faces when anybody says anything about ICE is terrifying.
And it kept getting closer to home. Agents operating near schools, suburban neighborhoods turning into enforcement zones. Parents are afraid to send their kids to class. Teachers watching attendance drop overnight. School districts stepping in, suing to restore protections that were supposed to keep schools and hospitals off limits. At that point, the message was clear. This wasn't happening somewhere else. It was happening where people live, where they raise families, where they thought the line would never be crossed. And once that realization hit, the backlash stopped growing quietly. It exploded.
In a growing standoff outside this federal building in Minneapolis, federal agents on one side, dozens of demonstrators on the other, all calling for ICE to go home.
What pushed this even further was the realization that Minnesota wasn't alone. Similar allegations had already surfaced in other parts of the country, where federal agents were accused of disguising themselves as construction workers, utility staff, or ordinary laborers just to get close enough to make an arrest. Hard hats, safety vests, clipboards, everyday symbols of normal work suddenly became sources of fear. When people can't tell whether the person knocking on their door is there to fix something or take someone away, trust doesn't just weaken, it collapses. Then came the reports of masked agents and bystanders being detained simply for watching or recording. No explanations at the moment. No clear identification. Just authority asserting itself in ways that felt deliberately intimidating. For many viewers, that's when the comparison shifted from enforcement to something darker. The sense that fear itself was being used as a tool. Once people believe power is being exercised anonymously and aggressively, the story stops being about one agency. It becomes about how much control ordinary citizens are willing to tolerate before pushing back.
And in Minneapolis today, ICE and Customs and Border Protection agents ramping up their operations, clashing with protesters.
For many Americans, that was the breaking point. When enforcement stops looking selective and starts feeling random, fear stops being theoretical. People began asking how someone with no criminal history could be taken without explanation, what protections actually exist, and who decides when those protections no longer matter. At that moment, the backlash stopped belonging to one community or one cause. It widened into something far more dangerous for authorities. A public that no longer felt insulated, no longer felt safe, and no longer believed this could only happen to someone else. The pressure finally spilled out into the streets. What started online turned physical, loud, and impossible to ignore. Tens of thousands of people marched in freezing temperatures, not out of impulse but exhaustion. Exhaustion from feeling watched, targeted, and dismissed. Chants echoed through city centers, signs demanded accountability, and the message was blunt: pull the agents back, explain what happened, and stop treating entire communities like collateral damage. This wasn't chaos. It was a release valve blowing.
Regarding ICE in Minnesota, demonstrators are calling for ICE funding to be rescinded and what they call real immigration reform. They also want accountability and justice for Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and others, and for ICE to leave immediately.
That public pressure forced consequences. Federal authorities quietly scaled back operations. Lawsuits followed from school districts and local officials who argued that basic protections had been ignored or erased. Politicians who normally avoid this issue were suddenly forced to take sides, and the language hardened fast. Words like authoritarian and unchecked power entered the debate, not from fringe voices but from people with national platforms. This stopped being an immigration story the moment people realized it could reach anyone who answered a knock, stepped outside, or tried to help. That's the question this leaves behind. If kindness can be turned into leverage, if trust can be used as bait, what does that do to a society built on the idea of helping one another?